by introduction given by professor. Okay, so it's also my privilege to talk about the polarimetry because my like very deep interest in this subject, and I am very much keen to spread the knowledge whatever I gain in last 1 decade. So it's let's start that what we can do in a 1 hour or 1.5 hour, because you can't expect much in 1 hour, but definitely you will gain your interest in radar polarimetry or SAR polarimetry and its application. So hopefully you are belongs to a very different discipline, and you may have the different application interest from the remote sensing aspects. Okay, so you can also gain some interest from which kind of application can be done with the help of radar polarimetry. Okay, so like nowadays the optical remote sensing is very good in several area, but where remote sensing using optical sensor is not working well, so how we can the help of the radar polarimetry. So that's the one of the main motivation of this presentation you can learn from here. So today's topic is I will talk about this polarimetric model based decompositions theory and applications. So this is the main theme under this radar polarimetry. Okay, as you know, this radar polarimetry give the signal in the complex form like A plus IB form. Okay, so and that can be converted into the intensity or magnitude or amplitude of that signal, and that amplitude can be converted into the sigma naught or backscattering coefficient images. Okay, so if you look at this HH backscatter coefficient, like first one, so it is giving like in grayscale, low to high intensity or low to high backscatter. So, but getting interpretation of such images is difficult, and this was the one of the like problem to not focus much on SAR or SAR related activity by the scientist, because where we have the application people, so they are looking more like ready to use that images, for example optical images which give the like multispectral band images and can make this color coded images easily interpret that from different features. Okay, and to identify the different feature from the images to monitor that changes or spreading that phenomena, something like that. It can be done, but here this grayscale images hard to interpret. Okay, it's like it's in a grayscale, so few features you can easily identify, but lot of problem is there, you cannot identify everything from here. So how to make it to utilize? Okay, so for making like in a simple way or easy way to interpret to the application people. So this is the one of the motivation of working a radar polarimetry scientist in the field of area. Okay, so this is the like example. You have the different polarimetrics or images like HH, VV, or HV combination. How to make these combinations or how to utilize these combinations to make a easy interpreted images. Okay, or easily interpret. Easily the interpretation can be done by the scientist or application people who are looking to utilize this data. So if you look at this, I use here this HH polarizations things, VV polarizations, and HV polarizations. I made one color coded images, and this color coded showing the like red, green, blue area. But this interpretation cannot be done based only the simply color, but these colors are assigned to some scattering phenomena that's known, and that is can be retrieved through the some scattering interpretation or scattering theory, and that scattering theory can tell us which kind of object can provide such kind of scattering phenomena. If you have built such knowledge, so that you can easily interpret those images. So that's the entire means presentation will be surrounding this phenomena, and finally we'll learn that how to get this kind of images and how to interpret such images to identify. For example, I'm saying here in the top of the corner of this image, here that part of Yamuna river. So you can identify this blue tone is water, and this surface is getting coming, and this can be interpreted as a water body, and that based on this linear feature, okay, and this some pattern, you can identify as a part of some river. Okay, if you know the location, you can identify which kind of or which river is there in this area. The another like is here is that airstrip you can see in a black, okay, very dark region. So that can be easily interpreted here, okay, in a single images. Okay, water body can be interpreted, but other features where the urban area, where that agriculture area, it's not easy to interpret. So where are these red spots? These you can say these are the urban, either villages or small towns. Where we have the green area is agriculture area. Again, where we have some kind of different tone of this color, it could be mix of this different scattering combination, and we need to interpret how to do. So this can be one of the part of this radar polarimetry application, but you can do several others like inversion of the parameters. You can easily achieve through this one. Okay, so outline of today's presentation. I'll talk about this. What is the polarimetry and polarimetry data? How can you utilize the data and through the model-based decompositions and application of those decompositions to interpret the several applications, and that will come in a short conclusion. Okay, that motivation is very clear. Okay, we need to monitor the Earth all the time. It means 24 hours, and for that SAR remote sensing, because you are learned from the day 1 to the day 5th, SAR remote sensing useful, and is alternate to the optical remote sensing. But if you can add polarimetric information with SAR, so that will give more advantages. Okay, so that's the one of the alternate phenomena, or that additional phenomena to learn here today. And why we are doing, because that demand of the application are increasing, and with the availability of the more sensors data from the space satellite, and many agencies are providing these data nowadays free. Okay, so and many applications are growing in this area, and many scientists, those who are doing in optical, now they have interest more in radar polarimetry area, or that radar polarimetry data based applications. So these are the main motivation of doing such kind of activity, and we need to develop more easy and simple approach which can be adopted, okay, by those are doing application in this area. Those are not looking more about the much mathematics, not looking for more tedious processing. They need like a final image, and they can do their application, because application is have that more importance than the development. So they are more focusing like suppose environmental modeling, ecology, ecosystem monitoring, glacier monitoring, snow monitoring. So there's several applications. We have the real world problems, so they are dealing with this application. So they have the great importance on this aspect. So let's come back to that, like our engineering or mathematical or physics based approach. Okay, as we know that if we have the wave equations, we can solve it, and the solution of these wave equations we provide us amplitude and phase. So amplitude represents the strength of the signal which is coming from the radar and returning, so that return signals how strong it is, and it will vary. This amplitude vary with the different target. So target property can affect this amplitude, or that in the strength of the signal. Phase will also change with the interaction, after the interaction of the target. So our phase is not so sensitive here, in because phase is very sensitive to get the change in up to millimeter. If you heard this interferometry lecture, so you understand this absolute phase is very important, but it's not easy to interpret, like to interpret the different target. So if you do the absolute phase in like interferometry purpose, so that is more accurate provider to your displacement, movement, or subsidence, etc., up to millimeter. But here we are not interested much in polarimetry about the absolute phase. We will talk about relative phase, which where we have some kind of interpretation in relative phase. So that you should uh, stop this understanding of absolute phase, which you learned in interferometry lectures previous to this. So that we will deal here that relative phase instead of the absolute phase. So that the another aspect. So, but the signal is coming in a complex form, and the complex form of the signals will provide us the absolute phase and the amplitude, means the strength of the signal, and strength of the signals vary with the target, and this variation we have to interpret in terms of the scattering, which can help us to understand this scattering phenomena of different targets, and we can relate with the physical interpretation of the object. So that's the main purpose of this equation. Okay, so why we are showing this equation and how it is utilized? Because that when this wave is coming from the sensor, we consider this electromagnetic wave, and this interact with the target. Okay, and we are getting return back the scattering, which we are calling back scattering, or return of the radar. So that's also carrying the same kind of property, and we have to relate this one. So, and this is the like one 10+2 or graduation level physics, where we have the Maxwell equation, solved it, Maxwell equation, and the wave propagation equation will get such kind of solution. And that is we are relating here with the our radar measurements. Okay. Now the basic definition of SAR polarimetry. Okay, so its SAR polarimetry is the combined of two words. Okay, polarimetry, polarizations, measurement. Okay, polarization is representing the electric tip, or that we can say orientation of the electric field. So that's known as a polarizations, and we are dealing here the measurements of the polarizations and analyzing, processing that different states of the polarizations. Okay, so and that we are understanding this here. There's polarizations or polarimetry. When we combined with the SAR polarimetry, SAR this polarizations concept with the synthetic aperture radar, so we are calling here SAR polarimetry. Okay, and SAR polarimetry, if we are talking about that full vector nature of the electromagnetic wave. So if we are taking only this HH polarizations, so we are not saying here SAR polarimetry. Yeah, it's polarimetric phenomena, okay, but it is not considering the full vector nature of polarized electromagnetic wave. So that's the things you should not consider. HH is like full polarimetry, or VV is full polarimetry. When we have the full vector nature of this polarized electromagnetic wave, so that we can consider this one is a full vector nature of electromagnetic radiation. So how this phenomena works? Okay, so suppose the signal is coming from this sensor, and the sensor is transmitting signal, interacting different object. So different object behave differently, and that whatever the orientation of the polarizations is coming after the interaction with the target will not be same. Okay, it will change. It will depends on this structure of the object, geometrical structure, means shape, orientation of the object, and its physical property. Okay, especially like humidity, dielectric constant, and roughness. These are the major physical property of the object that can also affect the this on polarization, this signal interaction, and change this state of polarization. So based on this concept, we will understand how that we can get the data and how we to interpret the data. So I'm audible. Is there any issue so far? My voice is clear? Okay. Okay. So now we will understand this how the radar is sending signal, and after the interaction with the target, how we are forming the this return signal in different polarization. So, for example, take the same concept, whatever in the last slide. Here, the radar system, which is transmitting. Okay, like we suppose put switch on H polarization for the transmission, and it's transmitting like in horizontal electric field. And after the interaction with the target, so there is no guarantee it will come back in horizontal polarization. Okay, because it will depends on the object size, orientation, its dielectric property, and roughness, etc. So we cannot say it will come in HH polarizations. What we will do is, suppose we want to measure that transmitting in linear polarization. Linear means either H or V. Okay, when that polarizations ellipticity is zero, it have the line polarizations. But orientation could be vertical, could be parallel to the surface, means horizontal, or any angle. So that's the linear polarization. So we will not say it will be in a linear polarization. It could be a generalized polarization, elliptical shape. Okay. So this could be linear polarization, either H, or H polarizations could be V polarizations, could be like in a circular polarization, could be like in a intermediate of circular and a linear polarizations. So anything could be possible, but what we'll do here, we have the only linear transmitter, like horizontal transmitter and horizontal receiver. So if it is the wave is going in horizontal and coming back in horizontal, so horizontal receiver will receive that return. Otherwise what will happen, that you will not get the signal strength significantly at the horizontal receiver. So if you are making full polarimetric mode, so you will have the two transmitter, two receiver. So for example, we are transmitting here horizontal, interacting with the target, and we don't have any guarantee it will come back in horizontal. But in case suppose you have the two receiver here, HH and VV, if after the interaction wave is coming back by in a HH polarization mode, so then it will received by the HH antenna, okay, or HH receiver. And if it is coming by in a vertical mode, so it will receive by the V mode of antenna. So that's the concept of getting transmitting and receiving. So simply when transmitting horizontal and transmitting horizontal, after the interaction we have the possibility of two combination: transmit H, receive H, or transmit H, receive V. So either H or HV, such kind of combination. So we can get, in the same way we can switch this transmission mode to vertical. We can get alternate two combination: transmitting V getting H, or transmitting V getting V. So HV or VH. So that's the two cross polarizations and two co-polarization states we can receive here. But in space satellite, what is happening? We have the transmitter and receiver at the same place. So we can consider this reciprocity, HV is equal to VH, and we can consider like only three main amplitude we are getting from the such kind of measurement. If bistatic, we can consider four. So that's the things. Most of the sensors are working in a monostatic state, okay, like TerraSAR-X, RadarSat-2, ALOS-1 and ALOS-2 is also there. Okay, it's flying in the space and working. And few airborne sensors, PISAR is Japanese. Okay, FSAR is very advanced airborne sensor. It's providing simultaneously three frequency in full polarimetric mode. Any three frequency, either P, L, S, or it can be L, C, X. Any three frequency they can capture simultaneously and in full polarimetric mode, means we can get such kind of data. This 2x2 matrix: SHH, SHV, SVH, and VV. And this, because it's work as a like a two-port network theory. Okay, so like as input and output, and as parameters. So same kind of things we can relate here. This S matrix, 2x2 matrix, can be written same way like in S parameters of two network theory. So and the elements of this S matrix which we call the scattering matrix, and it was recorded or it was observed first time by Sinclair, John Sinclair, and sometimes we say this one is Sinclair matrix. Okay. So Sinclair, if you find in literature Sinclair matrix or scattering matrix, so you should not get some confusion. Meaning is same. Okay, somewhere in optical radar, optical polarimetry, you will find it's John matrix. Okay, so but here we are talking about radar, we are calling it scattering matrix or sometimes Sinclair matrix, and this matrix will have 4 elements. Okay, SHS, SHV, SVH, and SVV. But information will be more. This each terms have in complex form A plus IB. Suppose SHH real part and SHH imaginary part, SHV real and imaginary, SVV real and imaginary. So it will, if it is in bistatic, it will produce 8 information. 8 independent information. If it is a monostatic case, we can consider HV is equal to VH. It will provide us one how many? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 independent information. So that's we can consider this a monostatic and bistatic. So this is the major observations which we get from the sensor. And this kind of data will get from all the agency, and now we should understand how to utilize this S matrix. So when we order the data, you will get this S matrix, SS image, SHV image, SVV image. So you can put in a matrix form when you are coding. Okay, but this S matrix is in a complex form, have the absolute phase and intensity, or you can say amplitude, and it's representing like first order statistics of the scattering phenomena. So in several ways that we don't have this like cross polarization solution in a first order if we look at this scattering theory. So what we'll do, we can upgrade or we can convert into the second order statistics. Okay, it's simply that whatever that we are taking this data we are getting from the satellite or through some agency, so the data we can do this ensemble averaging, okay, and make a convert into the higher order statistics. So ensemble averaging in terms of spatial ensemble averaging. We don't do here the temporal one, so mostly we do this ensemble one, spatial ensemble averaging. Like multi-look is the one of the example of ensemble averaging here, and convert in a different basis matrices as matrix to C matrix, covariance matrix, which is on the HV basis. Okay, simply linear polarization basis. Coherency matrix is poly basis matrix. We use here the poly spin matrices to convert one base to another base, so that we can convert the coherency matrix. I will come in a detail about the coherency matrix, or we are converting from S to T matrix. Okay, there are also alternate representation of second order statistics, Kanoff and Muller matrix. Okay, so come back to this S matrix. As I told you, this S matrix have like 6 independent parameters if you are talking about the absolute S matrix. But as I told, absolute phase is not good for interpretation. It's good for interferometry. So we are talking about here more about relative scattering matrix. So relative scattering means we'll take that one phase is common and we'll make this relative scattering, and we neglect this absolute phase because that is not easy to interpret. We'll take this only relative part of this scattering form. So in that way, we will have, instead of 6, now in a relative phase scattering matrix, we'll have only 5 independent elements, 3 amplitude and 2 relative phases. So that's the only information we will have. And this three amplitude can be converted into the backscattering coefficient image, like you have seen in the very first slide, and it's not easy to interpret, although it can work for some extent. But when you want to interpret and classify and segment or invert some physical phenomena, it's not easy. There's a lot of problem. Okay, but we are not talking much about those things, but we are looking how we can utilize this S matrix for better image interpretation, better utilization, or better application in the field of Earth observation. So here S matrix can represent only 5. When we convert this S to second order statistics, either covariance matrix or coherency matrix. I am taking here coherency matrix because of some advantages of coherency matrix. Coherency matrix represent this, each elements have their own scattering interpretation, or they are the representative of the scattering phenomena. So that's why we are talking about this coherency matrix. How to convert this S matrix to coherency matrix? So we'll take this formula, vectorization we'll do here. We'll put this S matrix and put some basis matrix. This basis matrix can be anything. Okay, you can take the linear lexicographic basis or whatever. If you want to define your own basis, you can define your own basis matrices. Okay, there is no problem. But we are taking like available basis matrices here, poly basis matrix. And we are putting this basis matrix here, multiplying and taking the trace of this one and putting one of them. Then second basis matrix putting here, calculating this second element of vector we are getting here. Then putting third one, getting this one. So like that we can generate one vector. We call this a poly vector, poly scattering vector. And when we multiply this poly vector by its own complex conjugated transpose and take the ensemble average, okay, so as I told, like multi-look 3 by 3, 5 by 5, 10 by 10, depends on that how this is required for your application and what are the sensor resolution in azimuth and range direction. Based on that, you can decide that how to get this multi-look things. And then you can get this, yes, coherency matrix, yes?
मैं तो सिर्फ इंट्रोड्यूस करता हूँ.
Okay, so is there any issue? Okay, so fine. I think there are some thing. Okay. So when we convert this one poly vector to this coherency matrix, so we'll get the 9 independent information. That is also in a relative phase. Okay, as there's a two way to convert a relative phase. Either you can take the absolute phase common and get it, and you want to utilize, you can utilize this one, get the different scattering phenomena. However, you can convert S to T matrix, that is also convert, there's an alternate way to convert this absolute matrix to the relative phase matrix, or sometimes we call this power matrix also. So here you can look at here, there's 9 independent elements. When we convert from first order to the second order, it's more than this first order. So, and 3 diagonal elements are real, and off diagonal are 6. Okay, and these are real and imagery, real and imagery, real and imagery. Yeah? Like 9 independent parameters, not like this all 3 by 3 is 9, because this lower off diagonal parameters or elements are just complex conjugate of the this upper diagonal elements. Right? So these elements, what are in the lower diagonal are lower off diagonal elements. All these 6 are just having the same information whatever we have in this. So there is no independent information. There is no additional information. So that's why we are calling only 9 independent informations are existing in coherency matrix. So that's advantage of this one. We will have the more independent parameters, input parameters. Okay, I believe that when you have the more inputs, you will get the better output. So that's the one of the like simple concept. So you can look at the another advantage of this one, apart from the 9 independent in the second order compared to the first order. So you have four more additional parameters. These parameters, whatever the coherency matrix, okay, these are related to the physical scattering nature, the one advantage. The second thing, it can be easy to formulate and transform when you want to orient this matrix or you want to transform one basis to another basis. That can be easily done. So there is no problem. And this is the one thing. And another thing, like this matrix, if we look here, is very big. For representation, we put here T11, T22, T33, T12, T13, T22, something like that we can form and put in a simple representation. So if I'll use this matrix in next few slides, so please, okay, understand this one is the same as whatever I have defined here in this slide in terms of the scattering parameter or S matrix parameter. So now the question arises, okay, how can we utilize pulsar data? We convert, we obtain the data, we learn how to getting data from the sensor, we learn that how kind of data we'll receive from the agency and how we can convert from S to T matrix. The next one, how to utilize. We got this, we convert this mathematical transformation from S to T, how it utilize and what are the application of this one. So that one is that suppose we are getting this S matrix or we are getting signal from the radar, how to utilize. So that first observation was found, if we split this signal into that various kind of scattering nature, and if we able to solve it and able to retrieve the different kind of scattering, so that we can solve it easily. The same way here we can consider this T matrix. If we can decompose, we can extract the different scattering phenomena by decompositions of this T matrix. So that's the one of the best way. So that's why we can say decompositions of different physical scattering if we can retrieve can be done in a. Yeah, please mute your microphone, Bhargavi. So okay, so that's the one of the way to utilize this T matrix. Okay, this is the one of the way to utilize T matrix. And once you get this decomposition, so please that mute your mic so that we can not get any disturbance. Bhargavi ji. Or maybe host can control okay, if it is fine, let's go. That once you get this different kind of scattering contribution from this T matrix by the decomposition approach, or one approach or two approach depends upon it depends upon you how able to you get it that different type of decompositions methods. But once you get this scattering contributions or different kind of scattering contribution, that will have the direct application in image interpretation. Means we are talking here pulsar image interpretation, means radar polarimetry image interpretation. And once you're able to interpret, you can also do easily classification and segmentation of those images. The third one is very, very important, which is not easily invertible through optical data or single polarization data or dual polarization data. you can invert that physical property by using this data. So this is the more sophisticated or more accurate or more precise approach for inverting geophysical parameter, especially when you want to get like density, snow, grain size, or depth of snow. So that means this microwave with polarimetry approach, it's a very good or excellent approach. Okay. And you can do day night. There is no restriction because of microwave. Okay, so once you get it, this T matrix, how to analyze the data, that was the question. Okay, we can do it through the decomposition purposes. Okay, you can apply any kind of basis, any kind of decompositions to deal it. But here my choice is scattering power decompositions. I will explain more and more on scattering power decomposition. However, you can go with HV basis. Simply you can combine these 3 band images, make this color coded image, you will get some interpretation. Okay. And you can go with directly poly basis. You generated the poly vector. You can go the absolute value of this one, make this images, and go ahead with this interpretation classification. Or once you get this T matrix, okay, and you calculate the T matrix eigenvalues, and based on the eigenvalues, you can further estimate or convert into the physical quantity, entropy, scattering alpha angle, or anisotropy. So you can do it. And the third one, or this last one, fourth one, is a scattering power decomposition. Okay, so you can develop some physical scattering model based on this understanding and physics of the target, and you can put in this equations when you are decomposing the data. So then you will get this different kind of scattering, and which are the more relevant to the, or directly relevant to the object. So that's why I like this one, and we'll talk more about the scattering power decompositions here today. And there is no problem, there is no restriction. You can go any one of this method where you feel that easy to go. Simply mathematical approach is eigenvalue, or first order approach is poly basis and HV basis. You can do it. Okay, so the difference I want to show here, why I want to go here with this scattering power decompositions. You can look at this when we create the images based on the HV basis, poly basis, and that when we go with this scattering basis. So you can look at the first one is HV basis in top, middle one is poly basis, last one is third top, bottom one is scattering basis. So that scattering basis matrix will have very close to the reality. Okay, we have given like you extracted 3 kind of scattering phenomena: surface scattering, double bounce scattering, and volume scattering. I'll explain what are these in the next slide. So then we are assigning surface scattering blue, double bounce as a red, and volume as a this green color. When we're making this one, is PD is double bounce, PV is volume, PS is surface. So where we have the surface scattering more, that color will appear. Where the volume scattering, that green will dominate. Where we have the double bounce, red will dominate. Okay, and then we relate that where the double bounce is dominant, where the volume scattering dominant, where the surface scattering dominant. Because microwave signal will not penetrate in water or some bare soil when the moisture is there. So surface scattering will be dominant. Another example, volume scattering could be more dominant in vegetation. It will penetrate, will interact more branches and leaves. Okay, so then it will have more volume scattering. Where the green is dominant in the image, you can easily, or first you can guess it, or this could be vegetation. Right? And double bounce, where you have that like dihedral kind of structure. Okay, so like this wall and the street interface, so you will have the double bounce scattering domain. So this is like first guess you can interpret, and we'll do this one interpretation of the images. So such kind of things can be done easily with this scattering power model. That's the one of the advantage, which are the direct physical understanding of the object compared to the other bases. So that's why scattering or physical scattering model based decomposition is more popular compared to the others decompositions. Okay, so again that you have the choice of eigenvalue or combination of the eigenvalue or model based, because each methods have their own advantage and disadvantage. Okay, you can do also hybridization of those kind of things, but we'll not talk here that one. We'll talk here this model based decompositions. Okay, in model based decompositions, so first decompositions was developed by Freeman and Durden. They have proposed like a signal is the combination of three kind of scattering: surface, double bounce, and volume. Okay, so the when signal is interacting to any of the target, it can produce three kind of scattering. That was the concept. So that yeah, that's the one thing. But they have developed over the forest region, considering this when the signal is interacting the top of the canopy. Okay, it's considering this volume scattering when it is penetrating into the forest, directly interacting the ground and coming back without any heavy interaction with this canopy or trunk and ground interaction. It's considering the surface, and when it is coming like ground and trunk interaction, it's considering the double bounce. That was the concept, first concept of proposing such kind of decompositions. It was very good, very brilliant, and means it's that one of the pioneer work in this area. Well, later on, that Professor Yoshio Yamaguchi find out this decompositions which was proposed by Freeman and Turner is very excellent, but it fails in some certain condition, because they had assumed reflection symmetry in that development of their decomposition. Reflection symmetry means when they have the HH and HV multiplication and take the ensemble average. So they are considering this quantity will be almost close to zero. So that's why they are considering here only 5 elements are alive in the T matrix instead of 9. So they have neglected or ignored this 4 elements from the T matrix. So and that was not the clear concept, and it's not a generalized way to propose the method. So that he has added here, first he has conveyed the message T matrix holding all 9 parameter information, as shown some example, and then say that one of the parameters can be modeled as a helix scattering model. Helix scattering model means when this H signal and V signal have the 90-degree phase, so they can produce kind of circular kind of power, and it's when it's moving towards the target or backward to this sensor, okay, in a like helical path, so they are considering it's helical scattering. But it is not like it's producing the circular powers from the sensor or antenna when transmitting. It is happening due to that phase delay when this interaction is happened with the target. So it is the target characteristics which can produce such kind of scattering phenomena. Okay, sometimes we call, because it is not a single target phenomena, it's like multiple target phenomena. Okay, we sometimes say it's a compound scattering. So he has proposed and convey this message and convinced this scientific community and published this paper in IEEE TGRS in 2005. And that after that, this acceleration got in this area to achieve more and more better decompositions, to utilize all 9 parameters in the decompositions, because here is utilized 5 did by the Freeman. He has proposed all 9 have the meaning in the T matrix plus adding one more in the decomposition, but there was still remaining like 3 more components which were not accounted for any decomposition so far. Okay, by that time, okay, when he is proposed. Later on, he himself proposed like orientation. As I told, the T matrix is very easy to formulate and orient one angle to another angle, or one frame to the another frame. So that was the one of the proposal. So if we have some target oriented about the line of sight, this target signal or radar signal is coming, and target is oriented about the line of sight. Okay, if we correct that one, we can eliminate one of the terms from the T matrix. So you propose one method and is eliminated real part of T23, means if you see here, real part of this T23 here, because T23 imaginary and real. Imaginary part was counted as a helix scattering. So that means in that way he was able to count or accounted for the 6 parameters out of 8, because now after the orientation about the line of sight, got this only 8 parameters in T matrix. But still that 2 parameters are remaining, which was not accounted for by that time. Later on, the problem came when we have that volume scattering model. Volume scattering model was considered in FDD, Y4O, and Y4R. Consider only for vegetation case. So vegetation only can produce such kind of scattering phenomena, volume scattering phenomena, and like bunch of the cloud of the branches or dipoles can produce such kind of phenomena. But in 2012, we noticed that when the target is oriented about the line of sight, that is also create the shift in the polarization angle. Okay, and that shifts can change the polarization state. So if suppose it's coming in horizontal, and due to the orientation, it will not go back into the horizontal state. That can also create the shift in the polarization angle. So we call this polarization shift. So because of that, like if you have that buildings, okay, in some city, one street is like orthogonal to the line of sight, means creating that 90-degree angle, and one street is like around like 20-degree tilted from the line of sight. So where that some tilt is happen, that can create such kind of phenomena. So if we take the like instead of dipole clouds, if we take the dihedral clouds, that is also produce a kind of volume scattering phenomena. So that the next development in this area was when this volume scattering was considered the part of 2 phenomena, vegetation as well as oriented urban area or oriented dihedral structures for volume scattering, and put there. The results were improved compared to the previous decompositions and was accepted. Okay, but again this problem was remaining. There was not accounted this all 9 parameters into the decompositions, any decompositions. So that's the next approach was like we applied another spatial unity transformation to the T matrix to count. What we did, we changed the base of the matrices from both the sides. Okay, we have the T matrix, we change the base of the T matrix arbitrarily. We have changed the basis of the models, scattering models on the both the sides, and make this equations. And what we found magically, that all elements are fit into the equation and were able to account it. But that was the pure mathematical approach. There was advantage to give this better result compared to the previous, and accounted for all 9 parameters into this decomposition scheme, but was not like a physical approach. It was like combined with the mathematical approach. But the problem was remaining, which we proposed extended model for helix for additional elements. That was not done so far. Okay, but in 2017 this model was extended. Okay, like we have the 9 independent parameters in T matrix. Okay, each elements, as we told here, elements are related to the physical scattering nature. Each one have that there's some physical scattering knowledge or physical scattering representation. But initially that only three elements like diagonal elements, there's diagonal elements T11, T22, T33 were interpreted as a like representation of the surface scattering, T11 representation of the double bounce scattering is T22, representation of volume scattering T33. Okay, so this was the representation, or we can say representative, but not exact that surface scattering, double bounce scattering, volume scattering. And additionally, that imaginary part of T23 was also considered like representation of the helix scattering, but remaining four or five elements, okay, T12 real and imaginary, T13 real and imaginary, and T23 real were not identified or not interpreted for any kind of scattering. So this task was still remaining till when the 6SD came. During the 6SD decompositions, counted that whatever the development was happened up to rotation about the line of sight and that extension of the volume scattering model. But consider this phenomena for interpreting two additional parameters, the T13 real and imaginary, real which kind of scattering is giving, and imaginary which kind of scattering is giving. So this kind of the development was happened so far in a model based decomposition, and I am happy to say that all 9 parameters were interpreted of the T matrix, and based on that developed the 7 component decompositions and now 9 component decompositions, but we are not talking here much. Okay, as I told that if suppose you have that model based decomposition expertise, you have the eigenvalue based decomposition expertise, and you know that what are the advantage, disadvantage. If you combine, you can make some hybrid approach also. So take both the advantages and combine and make some third solution. But that is not today's task. So come back to this Freeman and how it's proposed. It's proposed like T matrix. When we are acquiring the data will have some spatial resolution in X and Y direction. Okay, and we are saying this one cell or one pixel in the image, and that pixel will have that one T matrix. Okay, because at the one pixel will have HH value, we have VV value, we have the HV value, and we can get means S matrix for one pixel, and that S matrix we have converted into the T matrix. So now we are considering that as one pixel will have the T matrix, and T matrix is composed of several kind of scattering phenomena. So initially it was proposed 3, like surface, double bounce, and volume. So we can say the T matrix is sum of surface scattering, double bounce scattering, and volume scattering, and it can be modeled like that. And this FD, FD, FS like it's a tuning parameter which need to be retrieve, or these are unknown, and these can be the representative of the power. Okay, so then this for surface scattering model we can develop the model. I will not go in detail here. Okay, if you need we can discuss in the end. Okay, how to develop this matrix for surface scattering. Then we can develop the matrix for double bounce model. Okay, we can develop the coherent symmetry for the volume scattering model. Okay, and this FV, FD, FS are unknown. We need to retrieve. And another assumptions for that one, as I told, they consider here reflection symmetry. Reflection symmetry is multiply and ensemble average of HH and SHV. Complex conjugate will be 0, or in the same way for VV and HV will be 0. And that means this T13 completely and T23 completely ignored, put 0, and remaining there was only 5 parameters which were accounted for this decomposition. Now that I'll explain in detail that what is the surface scattering here. So hopefully you know, but I'll just give my part. So that will only small, okay, but it's not in detail. When the signal is coming, okay, and it is interacting to the some surface, so it will return back from the surface. It will not go much in deeper and will not create some kind of another scattering. So if it is coming, such kind of phenomena we call the surface scattering. So in alternate, we can say when that radar signal is interacting or any incident radiation is interacting at the border of two homogeneous media. Okay, so here what are the two homogeneous media? One is air, another is like soil or any surface or road, water, snow, whatever the background you are assuming here. So when the signal is coming, passing through the one media and interacting at the border of two homogeneous media and return. So such kind of phenomena we are calling scattering, surface scattering. That's the main feature of the surface scattering in microwave: water, wet soil, wet snow, and road, airstrip. These are the features where we can get such kind of phenomena. Surface scattering phenomena will be dominant over these features. Okay, double bounce. When we'll have like two kind of dihedral structure, okay, like when we have two perpendicular surfaces and the signal is interacting at the one and then interacting to this one and returning back to the sensor. Such kind of scattering phenomena is known as double bounce. There are two bounds, okay. One is on ground, one is trunk here and returning back. So we can say ground trunk interaction, or suppose you have that not vegetation, you have street, okay, or road on building wall. So road and wall interface can produce, or wall interface and road can produce such kind of phenomena. Volume scattering, when this signal penetrate into the media and go on the multiple scattering, and it will produce the volume scattering. So these are the basics definition of the volume scattering, surface scattering, double bounce scattering. Okay, however, that when we are calling about the double bounce scattering, okay, and when we have such kind of two dipole, two kind of like you can say considers a dipole, and when we have that orthogonal to each other, uh, and their distance is lambda by 8, and it can produce kind of phase difference between 90 degree, and this phase difference can produce kind of circular power. So that could be considered as a circular power, or it's dictated by the Halley's scattering phenomena. Okay, so and that was accounted into the four component based on this generalized specification of the T matrix. So in here T matrix consider 9 elements, but by using this Halley's scattering phenomena and generalized way, it is accounted only 6 out of 9, while this experiment data accounted 5 out of 9. So this is a fourth component decomposition, and the helix is the fourth component of the scattering power here. Okay, so next one is like when the target is oriented about the about line of sight. So that applied that this rotation of the matrix. Okay, and the rotation is applied and minimize one of the elements is known as T23, real part of T23, because that's the representation of the orientation angle of the object. So that was compensated and reduce 9 parameter to 8 parameters in a coherency matrix and create and apply the same decompositions, 4 component decomposition, split the power into the 4 scattering component. So next one was that there was a concept only that when we have vegetation volume scattering, but it was extended that volume scattering or such kind of scattering phenomena may come from the when we have the oriented dihedral objects that can also produce such kind of depolarization phenomena, because it's creating depolarization, and depolarization is going into if you look at this T matrix, T33 component, okay, and that is representing this volume scattering power. And if the depolarization is not necessary, it can produce by the vegetation. Depolarization can come from any kind of phenomena. Okay, it can produce due to the orientation, it can produce due to this dielectric, means heterogeneity, if there's a media in a heterogeneity state. So these are the things which can produce the depolarization phenomena and can be considered. But here we consider like broadly vegetation and what we can say, and oriented urban area or oriented dihedral structure. Okay, the two interfaces are there, and it is not orthogonal to the line of sight. If it is tilted from the line of sight, then we can consider and produce the additional model for this volume scattering and put it back into this four component and create this new decompositions called this S4R. Okay, superior four component decompositions with the rotation of coherency matrix. Okay, so now you can look at this. We developed this volume scattering pattern parameter or volume scattering model for oriented urban area and vegetation, or we can say oriented dihedral structure. When we implement, whether is it effective or not. So that how dipole oriented dihedral volume scattering model effect to the decomposition results. So you can see the first one is case only that when we have considered volume scattering due to the dipoles or vegetation case. The second one, we combine this oriented dihedral volume model to this vegetation and implement it. So we can say here is that urban area, this is the Niigata city. These are the Niigata city, and in upper this side is sea, Japan Sea, and this is the harbor. And here you can see that bright portion, few patches are there and straight. Okay, this is the vegetation, seashore vegetation, short seashore vegetation. Here that like high volume scattering is showing, means it's well working, but it is also showing when that because these are the street roads of the and radar is looking like this is the radar looking direction, and these streets are not like orthogonal 90 degree to this look direction, and they are tilted. Okay, almost here is 20 or 30 degree tilted here, and it's also producing such kind of depolarization phenomena. But when we apply this oriented dihedral one, okay, that concept was to reduce the volume scattering power from the decomposition, which was our estimating in the urban area, which was not correct, because if urban area we want to interpret through this decomposition scheme, it should produce double bounce, then we can easily interpret, otherwise it will mix with the vegetation. That was the concept behind of that one and produce, and it was really effective, and it's maintain this vegetation volume scattering almost the same whatever that proposed in a vegetation case, and implement it, and we can look at, I want to show some more results. Yeah, okay, you can see some results here. As a Google Earth picture here, you can see easily this river, and here urban area, vegetation and water, and another river and road. So you can see here that on the right hand side, first one is the original three component decompositions developed by Freeman Durdon, and there's accounted only 5 parameters out of 9 and consider only vegetation model, and you can see here the vegetation in the top, and here it's showing as a green in decompositions, but this urban area is also mixed with this one. Okay, there is a kind of mixed classification, and this mixed classification will get a misinterpretation of the data and a kind of understanding of the data. So that is not correct. So how to improve? The next one that when Yamaguchi proposed this generalized case of model-based decompositions, adding one more phenomena or one more scattering phenomena, that is helix scattering. It's improved, but still the problem was there that oriented urban area is showing this still green. Okay, and it has the same kind of tone of the vegetation. However, it is not vegetation; it is urban area, so it should produce kind of red because we are giving the double bounce as a red color, and if it is double bounce is dominant, it should produce a red color. So such kind of interpretation is not happening when it produce this orientation theory, because if we able to correct, if we are able to correct this orientation compensation of the target about the line of sight, that is have the, some significant improvement. And yeah, we able to distinct some of the urban area from the vegetation. So this was like first three decompositions. The fourth one, when we implement this vegetation and dihedral volume scattering model separately, okay, or in adaptive way, so then we can able to distinct this area easily from the vegetation. So you can look at here the with the rotation y4r decompositions consider only vegetation case, and here we are considering when we oriented is oriented dihedral model is accounted for this decomposition, and you can see here the vegetation the top and here urban area. So that's the concept. Okay, so to identify this one, and based on this, yeah, able to do in a proper manner. Okay, but the problem, as I told, that S4R is also not accounting all 9 parameters of the coherency matrix. So that next target or next challenge was how to account these 9 parameters of coherency matrix into any decomposition. Right. So here we know that we have the T matrix is the 9 parameters, applied this orientation angle theory, which can reduce 9 to 8. When further we implement the unitary transformation, we able to count this all independent parameter, but giving output as a 4 scattering parameters. So output is not changing in like many scattering power. That was the restriction of this decomposition. The idea was that how to reduce. There are two ways to account this polarimetric information. At the time of G4U, we were not able to model this more expansion of the scattering model from like 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that. So that time was that not availability of model or not could able to model this one. So that's why the reduction was that one of the best way at the time of the G4U decompositions development. We applied this one and able to count this all 9 parameters in the decompositions. Okay, so these are the mathematical things I am skipping here. As I told, we applied this unitary transformation both the sides. We multiply this unitary transformation and to unitary transform this basis all the matrices. Okay, and when we count, we are able to count all the 9 independent in the model. If you look at here, T12 is there, T13 is there, and T11 is there, and T22 is will be there. Okay, T22 is here. Okay, in the double bounce. Okay, total power minus PSTD. So it's rewritten in T33 is there. Means all 9 parameters were accounted here, and there was no problem. And the thing is that it was in a mathematical way. Okay. As I explained this Freeman and Y4R and these results and how the improvement is going on, this S4R when we include this dihedral plus vegetation, when include this all because this is little bright red several places, it's ready to control or balance some area for this high double bounce scattering, and we are able to continue and able to account it for this one. Okay, and this is that airborne images here that satellite-based images over the San Francisco. This is the oriented urban area, this green, and mix here the vegetation area, here the orthogonal urban area. Orthogonal urban area, when we are assigning and we are splitting surface double bounce and volume scattering, and assigning surface as a blue and double bounce as a red and volume as a green. So where the vegetation volume scattering will be dominant, where the double bounce orthogonal to the line of sight will be dominant, that will be appear as a red color. Where the surface is scattering like water body, see this San Francisco Bay Area, if you look at this one. So this surface scattering, either there is specular reflection or this means dark, or there is a surface scattering dominant due to that wave of the ocean. So bright return may come back to the sensor. So that's the way of the interpretation. If these classes are mixing, because oriented urban area is also producing depolarization phenomena, and that will be converted into the volume scattering and misinterpreted with the vegetation area. So this is that problem, and when we go step by step improvement, three component to four component with orientation theory Y4R, and when we apply orientation theory added with this volume scattering model split into two way urban oriented urban area and vegetation area, we improved. The surface scattering is improved and double bounce scattering is improved. Okay, and the last one is the G4U, means when we have accounted all nine polarimetric parameter information in G4U, and you can look at this. Okay, you can look one more time how the improvement is happen and reduce that misclassification chances. Or still some green is there, but it's reduced significantly comparatively as original decomposition. So it was like step-by-step improvement in the model-based decomposition theory, and which can you help in the interpretation of different target. Okay, where the urban area will appear as a red, where the vegetation will appear as a green, where that ship in that ocean that will create the double bounce scattering, sea surface and ship interaction will produce the double bounce scattering will appear as a red. Okay, and where the water is appear blue or very dark color. Okay, and where the bare surface, no vegetation will appear as a blue color. Okay, so because surface scattering will be dominant, so you have to interpret where the which kind of scattering is existing, and based on that you can apply image interpretation key and relate with the target. So that was the one of the understanding of these images. But that whatever that you had single polarization images in a grayscale or low to high backscattering, but you now able to convert this these images into the color coded images with the physics phenomena. Okay, with the physical phenomena of this one. So what is the time?
Yes, sir. It's
Okay, so okay, then we will finish on time, so there is no problem. So later on, we can it was that like mathematical approach to include this one, but now we got the idea how to interpret. There are 9 independent parameters in coherence matrix. You are able to interpret each and every one in a specific scattering form. Then you can make more model, like it was restricted to 4, but you can add 5th one, 6th one, 7th, 8th, 9th. Okay, and you can make. So the 6th component decomposition, the 6 component decompositions work the same. Okay, added this different scattering phenomena, and now they're splitting this T matrix or total power from the 1 pixel, splitting into the 6 scattering power, and these two are the additional component here, oriented dipole and compound dipole. Okay, that can be these two can be representative of real part of T13 and imaginary part of T T13. So we have interpreted here additionally T13 and converted into scattering phenomena and applied here. So this is the like uh, chart. Anyway, if you want, I can provide the code of this algorithm. Also existing in a freely available software from ESA. These are implemented there. Okay, so the results you can see the improvement of this from G4U2 when you are adding independent scattering phenomena in addition to that whatever accounting all parameters. So this is that one of image of the Barcelona, and you can see these are the oriented urban area, and this oriented urban area having this even though we included here oriented urban model, we included orientation theory, but still there was some existence or misclassification of this urban area with the agriculture or vegetation. Okay, but when we implemented or decoded this coherency matrix parameters into the individual scattering phenomena, that is producing better results compared to the mathematical approach of including the this one T matrix parameter. The reason is that because we're improving the utilizing that 100% of the T matrix, but output of that scattering interpretation was if suppose we consider nine interpretation, nine scattering type of is available, but we are considering only four type, is less than 50%. So that was the main reason, but here we are interpreting six, means more than 50%. Okay, so that's why the one of the reason if we able to interpret better or accurate scattering phenomena, we can get the better result, better interpretation, better physical inversion of the parameter. So this is the next level of improvement in the model based decompositions. Okay, and you can add more decompositions parameters or decompositions scattering phenomena here, and create your own decompositions. So, okay, so theoretical part, I'll stop here and we look at how we can utilize these decompositions. Okay, so as you learned that we can get maximum 6 component. Okay, take only just for your understanding three. We have the surface scattering, volume scattering, and double bounce scattering. Okay, if suppose we are giving double bounce as a red color, we are giving volume as a green color, and surface as green blue color. Okay, first we need to know what are the candidates. Okay, typical objects which can produce the surface scattering, double bounce scattering, volume scattering. If we look at this agriculture area, water, these are the candidates which can produce the surface scattering. If we can look at this urban area or any man-made structure, bridge, buildings, or other man-made structure like ship in the ocean. So this also can produce kind of dihedral kind of phenomena or double bounce scattering kind of phenomena. Vegetation is the main prime object which can produce the volume scattering. Right? But apart from that, if it is penetrating into a glacier or oriented surface or oriented urban area, okay, thick pack of the snow, that is also that candidate of the volume scattering phenomenon. So we have to interpret based on the color representing your scattering phenomena. Scattering phenomena are representing the type of object. So if you can link, and that remaining interpretation key will be same as the remote sensing, association, pattern, okay, size, etc. So let's see that how much that we learned today. Okay, the first image is that our the east coast of Japan, and this is that Tohoku area, and close to the Isinomaki area. If you remember, in 2011 tsunami came and hit this area. So, and this big damages was happened over there. So if you look at this, there is a area which in blue. If I ask you that which kind of object is this, the blue color area here. So if you agree, we can say it's water. Okay, water. Okay, and this is the Pacific Ocean, and these are the small object. You can see red spots in that one. These are the boats here. Okay, or ship. And if you look at here in the land, okay, there's a lot significant red color is there. Significant red color is there. So this red color is showing the houses or buildings or urban area collectively. Okay, and but this is the before the tsunami. After the tsunami, if you look at, okay, there is a significant reduction here, and there's significant reduction here. Can you anyone can mark where the another significant reduction in red color? Are you agree here? Here and this area. Okay, and this area. So you can see reduction of red color. Red color means double bounce scattering is reduced, and it is coming like in a cyan color or green color. That means it could happen. That's completely wiped out this area, completely washed out, and either little bit debris or surface is exposed. That's why it's mixing with some surface and green volume scattering. And there is no standing structure which can produce double bounce scattering. Means there is no like a rectangular interface which can produce the double bounce scattering. So based on the intensity of this scattering phenomena, you can also link how much damages is happened. It's a severe or like in a moderate or low, so that you can link with this scattering phenomena. How to clear this one? So next one. Next. Okay, so I just took the zoomed up area of this area region and look at here the C and D section. C section here the significant buildings were there. Okay, before the tsunami, after the tsunami, there is no building at all. Okay, completely wiped out. You can see here before tsunami and after tsunami, and that was reflecting here clearly in a double bounce scattering. So that scattering can tell you that which kind of phenomena is happening, and if there's change in scattering, that you can relate with the physical object or the real world. The another example here D, it is that another bay area, and before tsunami there was a lot of houses were there, and after the tsunami completely wiped out, or like it is sink into the water when the tsunami hit this area and retreat back into the ocean. Lot of like houses came into the ocean, and you can see few sports. Okay, few like floating houses are there in the debris of these houses are floating in the ocean. So the scattering phenomena can tell you that which kind of things is happening, and you can relate to the real world. Okay, if you take the in quantity way, how much percentage or how much this double bounce is scattering. So here the one of the example where the more scattering change, more damages, less damages. Okay, you can relate. So that's the one thing. Another example, if you, change in this where you have this pre-image pre-volcano eruption, second one is after volcano eruption. So you can say the significant change in that vegetation area or the green area due to the sulfur dioxide, other things. This damages happen to this vegetation and surface is exposed, and we can have that more surface scattering here. So that you can think. Another, you can monitor the forest type. and forest from the different type of area. Like you have the surface scattering, bare ground, vegetation. Here vegetation is different from this vegetation, so that scattering will vary with this vegetation structure or organization, etc. So you can monitor this vegetation, non-vegetation area. You can also monitor at the large scale where is the forest, where is the non-forest area. This is the one of the example of India. Okay, forest cover in green and non-forest in other either red or blue. If you have another application to monitor the vessels, so you can do that monitoring of vessels. Okay, upper one is Google Earth image. You can't hardly find due to the haze any recognition of any ship or something. It's very problematic. But when you have the radar images, that will give very clear picture of this vessels. Okay, where we have that big ship, strong, and size is big compared to this small vessels. So that you can relate with this scattering based on the real world. Okay, and it will be very easy and straightforward interpretation compared to the either single intensity image or optical images sometimes. The another application, if you are interested in aquaculture, okay, so here that you can see this area and this area. Okay, so here there's very dark spots are there. Here is no. Okay, because they put here kind of fences or kind of protector which put on this ocean surface, and when the waves comes and wave will interact with this structure, and this structure will reduce the height of the waves, ocean wave, and due to that it will be very calm surface over there, and the radar signal is coming hitting this one, it will go away from the sensor, so energy will not go back to the sensor, so it is create like kind of specular reflection kind of things, and that will not have the high return compared to the surrounding area. So this phenomena, scattering phenomena, can help, okay, to interpret some aquaculture sites in ocean or water. Another is like because the signal, microwave signal, especially in L band, has the penetration capability. It can penetrate into this media and will tell us this abundant river course or paleo channel, etc. Okay, and we checked here and we find this. This is the kind of different kind of scattering phenomena here is different and here is different. Okay, it could be due to that moisture is changing, one of the interaction is changing because of that, but here we can see the some pattern which can dictate or which can relate with this abundant river course in Rajasthan area. Okay, so if you go to the glaciology, or if someone have interest in the application of monitoring of snow and glacier and how to utilize these images. Okay, so you look at this where the wet snow, we have the surface scattering dominance. Okay, where we have the transition zone snow to ice fern area, we have that different scattering phenomena here, like mixed with the surface and volume scattering, and where we have that like ice and debris covered area, which is producing more like multiple scattering or random scattering phenomena, which converting to volume scattering. So volume scattering is dominant over the this debris covered glacier area. So these are the phenomena which can help us or can relate to this real world. And here the example of optical images where we can do this is based on this color interpretation. This is the same way we can do with the help of the scattering based decomposition system. Okay. If you can profile, see that how much scattering changes. Okay. So another change detection, you can see that you can monitor the change detection in a snow cover area. That it is like March. This is May. About the 46-day difference between two images, and significant reduction in the snow areas happened. Okay, and you can look at this change in images. Okay. So I'll not go this one. Okay, so but you can develop the different scattering phenomena. The time is restricted. Okay, so that I come to this conclusion. Uh, so you learned in that very first or second slide. So we are doing remote sensing. Remote sensing is very important for monitoring this Earth health. And if you add this micro remote sensing in the remote sensing approach, it is like day-night approach. But when we are taking the advantages of polarimetry, okay, so polarimetry can help us more detailed analysis of the Earth observations, and not only that, whatever the difficulty was there in interpreting uh, conventional SAR images, that is no more. Okay, so you can do in a better way, easy way, and straightforward interpretation of polarimetric image interpretation, which help us to in a inverting this geophysical parameter, or interpreting that your target or classification of your target. So in the simple way, so we can say that terrestrial remote sensing with the polarimetric SAR is the radiology with the subsequent diagnosis of the health of the mother earth at all weather and volcanic condition and day and night. So this the like one of the statement or conclusion. Okay, so for example, this radiologists do this monitoring our health when you go to the some x-ray or what we can say CT scan. Same thing we are doing here with the help of the radar remote sensing or any other remote sensing, monitoring the health of our mother earth. So that's all. Thank you. And acknowledge this man, Professor Wolfgang Martin Boyan, who put his whole life in developing the polarimetric approaches, and encouraged all the agencies to make more and more full polarimetric sensors like JAXA, ESA, DLR. Okay, and he has very good kind of friendship with this agency, and he has initiated or he has given a lot of suggestions these agencies, and these agencies are nowadays producing a lot of full polarimetric sensor, airborne and spaceborne. So I thanks him, but nowadays he's not with us. He left the earth in 2018 May. And if you look at more on images, or if you want to see more images in different area or your area, you can look at, you can visit to my site, or you can contact me, and I can help you. And if you need to do or initiate some kind of research in the field of radar polarimetry, okay, so if you need some assistant or any like a collaboration or help, or your students looking for such kind of research, so I'm ready to collaborate, ready to provide them some of the images